writer Niloufer Kouyash. She's an editor, journalist, and writer, a woman of many faces, like the city where we were born and lives. How is it your relations with Istanbul?
Oh, like many people, hate and love. I sometimes hate it, but I love it. I was born here, and I'm old enough to have seen many changes. The Istanbul of my childhood is gone now. It doesn't exist anymore. But it's mostly love, of course. It's a lovely city. So I have this strange relationship with the city. Sometimes I go out, walk the streets, go dancing, discovering new places because there are always new places. New neighborhoods are being built, new buildings, new venues.
It's always a surprise.
Exactly. So I dance, I walk the streets at night, I go out with my friends, so it's fun and excitement and it all sometimes panic attack, breathing too fast, it's too, and sometimes it's like breathing, you know, and sometimes I close in on myself and focus on one thing and find little corners, like little oases inside the city where I can breathe, a little garden, some place that hasn't been destroyed from old, like the garden of the Archaeological Museum, where I used to go as a young girl to dream, write. I still go there. It still exists, so that's nice. So then I focus on something small to survive, because it's too big.
Okay.
So it's like breathing, it's like a rhythm.
How the city has influenced your path?
My path in life? Oh, that's a difficult question. Well, as I said, or tried to say before, this is a very cosmopolitan city, you know. There's an Italian bit of Istanbul, there's a French bit of Istanbul, there's a German bit of Istanbul, there's Armenian bit of Istanbul, Jewish bit of Istanbul, Muslim quarters. Most of that is gone now, but there are sort of remains. So I lived in a very cosmopolitan city. It is again like that now, but in a different way, because a lot of people are traveling through it. There are a lot of immigrants, as you know, not only Syrians, but Africans, Arabs. It's become like a international marketplace. Before it was people who lived here, you know. They were Italians born in Istanbul, French born here, lived here in commerce here. And half of my classmates were non-Muslim. I went to an American college, Robert College. So that cosmopolitan city allowed me to open into the world. I felt completely European. I had no idea I was a Middle Easterner. I find out now, to my chagrin and excitement in a way, that I'm a Middle Eastern person. When I was a young girl, I thought I was European.
Okay.
So I went to America to study. I lived and worked in England. I toured around Europe and I felt at home. I still do. But people who came after me, young people, I don't know if they still feel the same. Maybe they do because of the internet.
Maybe.
Because when I was at university, there was no internet, you know, which is strange. But that cosmopolitan city opened me to the world. I never felt isolated.
Good.
It gave me courage.
Okay.
That's how it. So when you live in such a cosmopolitan city and you feel as a citizen of the world, writing becomes much easier because you're open to other experiences. You're not closed. You know how other people live already when you're 10, which now people have to find out from zero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I was young, people used to make the same route as you do because Istanbul was on the route of the hippies going to Nepal.
That's true. I have many friends that have did it in the
Sultanahmet
70s.
Square, we used to go there, you know, looking at the hippies and hoping we might find some, can I say this on air, some drugs and excitement music. It's still like that, but in a different way. So Istanbul is so open. It has to be. Even if it's trying to close itself now, it cannot do it. So if you grow up in a city like that, writing becomes almost part of you because you can imagine how other people live.
So we know that you publishing the first book after 2000. What motivated you to publish it, your first book?
A story I heard about someone because this is about a ship traveling around the Mediterranean, and just as it arrives in Napoli, there is a military coup in Turkey, and the ship, there are some politicians on the ship, so the ship is stopped and called back. It's like a historical cabaret. Lots of things happen. What motivated me was I wanted to deconstruct history. Like, they teach us something called history, but it's really not entirely correct sometimes because personal experience is not in
It's
it.
an opinion from the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to rewrite history in my own way through stories I heard about from friends, from my family. There are little bits of history from my family because they wanted to arrest my father because they thought he was a great conspirator who was collecting gold and money and was going to overthrow the government or something, which is crazy. So soldiers came to arrest him, but nothing happened later. But stories like that,
Okay.
people informing on each other,
Yeah.
suspicion, mistrust, love, doubt. So it's like a historical cabaret, someone from today looking at the past and trying to rewrite the past. So it was fun. And there's lots of Istanbul in it as well, because I write several generations and how they clash, how their way of living, their way of decorum, or how I understand life should be lived is very different, so there are clashes all the time. So that was funny. I thought it was funny.
The feeling of melancholy is the main subject of your book, Kara Sevda Kitab.
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 Yeah.
Sorry for the
Book of
pronunciation.
melancholy. Yeah.
Okay. It's a melancholy understood as the Portuguese saudade, as said nostalgia. The feeling of melancholy has a link with your city.
Yes, in a way, and with myself, because I'm a very melancholy person. But in that book, yes, saudade in Portuguese, kaimos in Greek. What do you call it in Italy? I don't know. Melancholia.
Melancholia.
probably.
Melancholy.
'Cause one of the beginning points was in my childhood, my youth. I used to love Pepino Di Capri's song Melancholia. It's a lovely song, okay? But what I'm trying to say in that book is that melancholy is not like depression. We have to be careful. Depression is bad.
It's totally
Melancholy is nice. Melancholy is rich. Melancholy is our shadow side. And if we don't know our shadow side, we cannot be complete. We have to be in touch with our shadowy side. Because a lot is happening there. Just like sun and shadow are important to grow plants. In our inner world, shadows are important as well. So I was trying to say, don't be afraid of melancholy. If you forget to switch on the lights in your flat in the evening, if you feel like you belong somewhere but you don't know where, these are normal feelings. Don't be afraid. You have encountered melancholy. It's a normal feeling. And I was very much inspired by the 17th century British writer Richard Burton, who wrote this huge book called The Anatomy of Melancholy. He was a doctor. So he said, why are we all melancholic, we human beings? And he was melancholic as well. And it's a very funny book, you should read it. It's very funny about melancholy. I tried to be funny about it as well, because melancholy is not sort of,
Yeah,
you know.
I feel the same about melancholy.
You can be very fun and happy, but the melancholy in the background is like Baroque music. You have a concerto grosso and there's a continuo behind going very dark, Vivaldi's music. There's a dark background and then there's a light forefront. That's what I wanted to play with. But it was also a time that was very difficult for me because I had lost my mother, and I tried to. Sigmund Freud talks about the difference and similarity between melancholy and grief. When you lose someone or something, you feel grief. And melancholy and grief are similar in some ways, but very different in other ways. I also dare to disagree with Freud in my book. What ambition, huh? Because I think he was wrong in something. He thinks melancholy is an illness. Because he was a doctor, he wanted to prove melancholy is an illness, and I don't think melancholy is an illness.
Yeah.
I think it's a natural state of being human. And the more we recognize our melancholy and befriend it, the richer and happier we shall become.
In an interview, you're talking about a literary growth in Turkey. In your opinion, what has triggered this literary explosion?
Oh, right. That was the article I wrote in Financial Times, yes. Well, what created this literary explosion? That's a very good question. I think that although, as I said, in my childhood, Istanbul was open to the world, Turkish literature, writing was not open to the world. Now it is. So younger writers are much more savvy, they're more, even at a young age, they're more experienced, they know more of the world, and they're more confident. But the main reason is we don't have that terrible identity crisis anymore that we used to. It's still there, but it's not burning and sort of, existentially sort of killing you. Are we Easterners? Are we Westerners? I just said to you, I felt European and now I'm finding out I'm Middle Eastern. The identity crisis of who are we? Are we Europeans? Are we Westerners? Are we this? Are we Muslims? That crisis is not as important anymore. People feel more confident. Of course it's still there, but it's not existentially pulling them down anymore. They realize it's a richness. So there's been an explosion, and maybe there's more translations, so the world is finding out more about Turkish literature, thanks to Orhan Pamuk, who made us more prominent in the world. But it's a matter of confidence, I think. Young writers are more confident. Even I feel more confident than I used to, You were asking me about melancholia, and, like I do the Argentinian tango. Istanbul, at the moment, is the second largest center for tango after Buenos Aires.
Really?
Every night there are 5 or 6 milongas. I feel so confident that as a, much older woman, I go out at night and I go and do the tango. And I walk the streets. We didn't have that kind of confidence 30 years ago. And imagine how more confident younger people are. Because they hear more of the world. I don't know, maybe it's technology, maybe it's the world at the moment. Like you guys are going to the end of the world and they're imagining the world. So a friend of mine in that article, I mentioned her, she said, probably some of the best novels in the world are being written in Turkey at the moment. And she said, I pity those who can't read it because it's in translation a lot is lost. But I don't believe that. I think translation is still good, My favorite Italian writer is still Cesare Pavese, and I don't think he loses anything in translation. Every 3-4 years I read him again, or Italo Calvino. They're my bedside books. And now Turkish novels are becoming bedside books to someone in South America or North America. We didn't have that before. We open to the world, despite all this horrible political thing that's going on, which is trying to close us off. It's not possible anymore. Because young people have just made it out. They've come out. Like gays have come out. Everyone has come out. You can't put them back in Pandora's box anymore. There, I think that's the reason.
And we have our project with Giacomo, and what do you wish to us about our project? Because we are crossing about 18 countries. We heard many languages, and it will be a great adventure. But what you will wish us?
Well, I hope that you will taste and enjoy every single moment, not just the food, but the sounds, the smells. I wish I could come with you.
You should come. We have a place, a small place.
It's a great adventure, but you know, it's a bit too tough for me.
Yeah,
I wish you good luck, and you know, I hope that you share your impressions and your photographs and all the people you meet with a lot of people, with all of us, because it's a very lovely project. I don't know who you're helping as charity, but it's a noble project to be doing, and you can only do that at your age. I mean, me, I'm a bit too old. I love driving, but I never drove in a rally. Just taste every minute.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Bon voyage.